Hey there and welcome to Matt's Garage. Well, today I'm working on my 2011 Hyundai Santa Fe, and I'm going to be replacing the right side lower control arm because the ball joint has worn out there. So the first step is going to be to get the vehicle jacked up and get the wheel taken off. So I'm going to do that now. So I've got it jacked up under the factory jacking location along our pinch weld on the rocker panel. Now I'm going to put this jack stand under one of the bolt heads on the subframe. So I'll show you that in a minute here. Okay, I'm just going to demonstrate the problem for you here. You see that is play. That's actually in the lower ball joint. So this is how you check for play in that, and then you have to kind of move your hands around or get a helper to look and assess where the play is coming from. It could be from the tie rod end, from the ball joint, from the strut plate, the wheel bearing. Any number of things could cause play on your wheel. So I've already gone through and diagnosed that it was in fact the lower ball joint that's got that play in it. So when I was driving, it really kept jerking from side to side suddenly, just veering on me. So that would be the symptom that you'd be experiencing if this was your problem. Also abnormal tire wear. There's definitely some of that going on the edge of the tire here. If your vehicle's not tracking right and you've got abnormal tire wear, it's normally an alignment issue, but worn part can cause an alignment issue, so it's important to inspect your vehicle periodically for worn out parts like this. I just wanted to show you how I have it jacked up. So I like to put a board on there, and then just along that pinch weld there, that's the factory jacking location there. And then you can see that heavy bolt on the subframe there. So I just put it on the head of that bolt. I just wanted to show you guys visually how much play is in there. So you see how much movement's in that joint. And that's definitely not safe to drive when it's like that. You want to replace that right away if you discover that. Okay, well, we're going to get this wheel off. It's 21 millimeter here. And I've already got those cracked loose, so I'm just going to hit that with the impact, get that off, and we'll proceed. So there's a little tech tip for you if you're worried about scraping your rims and your socket's a tight fit in there. Just put a little masking tape around the socket. It'll prevent any scrapes. Okay guys, well this is the first time I've done a control arm on one of these, but I see the threads come up through there, so I put some oil there. And same thing in there just behind the sway bar, right in there. Put some oil there, and I'm not sure if those nuts are welded on there or I have to hold them, but I'm just gonna try turning the other side right there, which is 19 millimeter, and we'll see what happens. And then gonna have to get this cotter pin out here and get that pinch bolt out there. So we'll get some oil on that too. I'm just going to get that cotter pin out first. So there we go, a little persistence paid off there. We'll get a fresh one to put back in there, of course. And then what I like to do, because that's so rusty there, is just get in here with the wire wheel and clean the rust off those threads. I noticed some of the more expensive arms came with a new bolt for here. I went with a really cheap one, so it didn't. I'll get a little oil going on there. Okay, so I believe this is 17 millimeter here actually, and I probably have to hold the other end too. I'm just going to get on the other end with vice grips. It's not the most professional tool, but it should work. So there we go, and then we're just going to gently tap this out. I was just looking for something to tap this through with because I don't have a lot of tools here at this building. But that did it. Just a random bolt I found on the floor here did it. So there that bolt is. If you're reusing it, make sure you wire wheel all the rust off of it and oil it up or anti-seize it before you put it back in so it doesn't get stuck in there again. Just thread your nut back on there so you don't get confused later. And then what you actually want to do is get in there with the pry bar in that joint there and pry the metal apart just a little bit. That'll make it much easier to get this apart. This is cast iron, it's quite flexible. So there we go. So we've got that part of the job done. This has just got to come down out here, but we'll get the hinge points loose now. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to try turning this from the boggin with the large breaker bar. Just got it on the impact here, and I'll impact that right out. Okay, apparently the nut does spin. So I believe it would be 19 on this side, but I'm just going to make it a vice grip because that's what I have. Like I said, I'm not in my shop, I'm in a storage building here on the property. I don't have all my tools with me. Again, thread your fastener back together so you know. And I like to I put them in different places according to where they came out of the vehicle. So we just have to get at this rear one here. There we go. Vice grips again to hold the back side, just because that's what I had. Okay, so at this point I believe our part is free. We just got to wriggle it out of here basically. So there we go. Since the part was junk anyways, the best method to get it out safely without damaging the vehicle was to just beat on it. So that is our problem. That joint there is completely worn out, ready to come apart. So now we're going to do a visual comparison to our replacement part to make sure we got the right one, and we can proceed with installation here. It looks to me like it's the right part aside from this additional bracket, which shouldn't be a factor, so we should be good to go here. So it's just a reverse of removal here, and you can see they put a protective sheath on here. There's your, that'll go in first kind of thing. Okay guys, I'm having a little trouble getting that back up into the joint, so one thing you can do is put a jack under it. I don't have an extra jack handy, so I'm just going to tap it up there with the hammer, which probably isn't the best method, but it's the one we're using here. So there we go. I just tapped it until the groove in there lined up. You'll see what I mean for the pinch bolt to go through. And then we'll stick the pinch bolt through from this side. Now I like to just leave that loose until I get both of these connected. It's always better to have movement everywhere. You can just use pry bars to kind of help position this in here. So here we go. At this point, the new arm's pretty well in. It's just a matter of tightening everything up. Okay, now since this is a hinge point here, you want to actually crawl under and tighten this one with the weight of the vehicle on the ground. These other two don't matter. We can tighten those up right now, so we're going to. Now I will include torque specs. It's important that you rattle on this lower one for a minute to bend that cast iron back together, because you pried it apart when you removed it. Okay guys, so here we go. That joint back there, you want to tighten that with the weight of the vehicle on it. This one you can tighten right up. There's no movement in it later. And this one, make sure you rattle on it for a minute. Make sure you put a cotter pin back in it. I will be doing that later. I have them up at the main shop. So I'm also going to be checking the alignment of the vehicle once I have this part installed, because that can change. There can be variances in parts, especially when you're using a cheap aftermarket part like I am here. Okay, so I've got that all tightened up, and this is how I check my alignment at home, just with a piece of masking tape. It's not a race car, it's good enough. But you can see how far out it is. See when the tape touches the back of the tire and how far it's still from the front? It's about 3/4 of an inch off. It should be towed in slightly, like about a 1/16 of an inch. And I did confirm there's no movement. Of course, you want to shake the wheel again and confirm after your replacement that there wasn't a secondary part that was failing and causing movement. Okay guys, well I did go ahead and tighten up that bolt with everything sitting on the ground. Double checked everything by hand with a ratchet just to make sure. I'll include some torque specs throughout the video here if I can find them. And I do hope you found the video helpful. This should be applicable to 2007 to 2012 Hyundai Santa Fe's at least. So thanks a lot for watching that scratch. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have yourself a great day.